Okay.
Hi, Fred.
Hi, Seth.
How are you? It's nice to see you.
Good. Thank you.
So I was looking up old pictures to see if I had a picture of your winery, which I only have inside. So I was there in 2013, but you were away, but I met your staff and visited everything. So can we start, Fred, by introduce yourself and tell us your history in wine personally?
Yeah, so Fred Loimer, the Loimer estate in Kamptal, Langenlois, Austria, close to Vienna, right on the Danube, just 10 kilometers from here is the Danube. And I'm sitting in front of my winery under a nut tree. I hope it's not too windy. I hope the sound is good.
I can't hear you very well. Is there any way to maybe speak closer to the?
Yep,
That's a little
better.
bit better. I mean, it's so close, I know, but I have my. Can everybody else hear him? Okay, I can struggle through.
Okay. Is
But
it okay?
yeah, yeah. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so sitting in front of my winery, and I hope it's not too windy. So um, when it's too windy, I go inside, just 10 meters from my door. Uh, yeah,
And so, tell us, how did you get into wine? Was it your family, or did you? How did you end up in wine?
I took the easiest way. I'm born in that business. I'm born in a family with vineyards, and I took that over from my father in '97.
Okay.
But started working with him in 1991, around that. Yeah, so I always did that. I always did that business, always in the vineyards or in cellars or something. Yeah, around wine.
And you went to wine school in Austria, right?
Yeah, there is yeah, it was a famous wine school. It still is in a way. It's close to Neuburg, which is right on the border to Vienna. And I was there between my 15th and 18th birth year. And yeah, took the exams there. But then I went to Germany and to California to practice all the knowledge I got.
I'm wondering, are you holding the phone over the microphone, maybe?
No, don't think so. No.
That's a little bit better. So do you see there's a couple of arrows where you can turn the camera around, and it might be easier when you show us around. So can you tell us where you are?
Yeah, so I'm sitting in front, and can you see it?
Wow. Yeah.
So there's some vineyards close to the winery, and when I look to the east, you might see a hill in the back. That's
Huh?
the most famous site here in Kamptal. It's the Tübingen Heiligenstein. There's a little tower on top, and this is an exception here in the region. So the region at all is very diverse when it comes to soils and microclimates. And Heiligenstein is sandstone conglomerate, a very old soil, and that's mainly for Riesling today. In the past, of course, different varieties, but today it's 90% Riesling planted on that side. And if I go more north, you might see little houses now.
Yep.
These are the old cellars, um, which were professional cellars in the past. Next to me, they still are in use. And Langenlois, for example, it's a town of 7,000 people, and 100 years ago there were 1,000 families living direct from wine, and all of them had these little cellar houses where there are caves underneath, and in the house in front there was always a tree press. But today, most of them only for private use and love wine.
Wow.
And that cellar row, half your which is that new building here. That's uh, that's the black wall. That's the tasting room behind.
Uh-huh.
When I go further, on the other side, another black building, and there is behind the press house. Yeah.
Wow. I put the picture of your winery up because
Oh,
it's stunning. building. Can you tell us about that and why you chose such a unique architecture?
I took the family business in '97, which was different as it is today. A lot of things changed here in Austria, all over the world in a way. And in '98, I got the chance to buy a very old cave. So very old. It's a 200-year-old cave
Wow.
belonging to a noble family. So it was also a huge building, and so I decided to change the place. So it's only 2 kilometers from my old place, from my family's place, to
Okay.
here. But it's in the middle of the vineyards, as you have seen, and the old cave is a fantastic atmosphere for the wine, and especially for casks. And when we took it, we had to build infrastructure. So there was no office, there was no tasting room, there was no heating, no electricity in a way, and so we need that infrastructure building, and that was the tasting room first. And we said we don't want to rebuild or build it in the same way as we did it 200 years ago. We want um, to show a new architecture for a wine cellar here in that old cellar road, and because here everything is on terraces, we decided to do that with a flat roof with green covered roof, so very similar to the terraces.
It's just gorgeous. So can you tell us in general about your region of Austria? I believe you're in Kamptal. Tell us for consumers, and then a little nerd wine talk for some consumers and some wine professionals here.
Yeah, so the region is called Kamptal. It's close to Danube, and it's one of the cool climate regions here in Austria. And Austria at all is a cool climate country for wine. But Kamptal very special. So we are close to forest district with higher altitudes, and only 30 minutes from here is one of the coldest spots of Austria. And this influences us very much from the north and from the west. And on the other side, we are completely open. So Kamptal is like a half shelf lying
Okay.
close to Danube, and we are completely open to the east and got all the continental hot air in summers. So it's a big mixture between cold from the west and hot from the east, and that creates quite a special climate here, which is very, very dry, especially at the moment. So we didn't have seen so much rain the last 7 months. We are struggling a little bit at the moment because of that. But on the other hand, because of that drier climate plus the colder nights, it's a very healthy atmosphere here, and it's not easy, but it's quite easy to farm biodynamic or organic here.
So can you tell us? I'm there now. I see you again. There we
Yeah.
go. Can you tell us why you chose? Explain what biodynamism is, and then your journey to deciding to go biodynamic.
Yeah, so biodynamic for me is not what you always hear when you hear biodynamic. So moon calendar and preparates and all that. Uh, the most important thing for me in biodynamic is the basic concept, which is called the farm individuality. So the idea that you are not buying materials from the outside, you try to produce everything by yourself. And there are two main questions in wine. There is one, the fertilizers in the fields. So in biodynamic, we produce our own fertilizers with composting, which we started today. So building the new compost with cow manure, sheep manure, horse manure, but also organic material which we can harvest around the vineyards, so bushes and trees, and also the wood from the vineyards we chip, plus um, uh, plus the pomace. And this creates our fertilizers, so it comes from that place. And I think that's very important for the wine at the end, because only when you respect your place and when you don't manipulate your place, you can talk about terroir wines, terroir-driven wines. And in the cellar, it's the same idea. So we don't buy yeast, we don't buy enzymes or other helpers. We only work with our own yeasts from the cellar, from the vineyards, plus a little bit of sulfur, and we use a little bentonite finings. So the idea of a farm individuality is for me the basic concept of biodynamic farming at all.
I'm considering going inside because there's like a chorus of lawnmowers around here. If people can't hear, please let me know.
Okay.
Fred, people pop in and out. I can hear you fine. But people come and go. So would you turn the camera around and show us the vineyard again?
Yep. Okay.
You can do that on the screen. You can take it in and out of selfie mode if that's easier. Then you can see what you're showing. Yeah, there you go. Then you can tell us what we're seeing.
So that's the black building in the back. Here.
We're gonna both switch places.
Stop now. This is the Heiligenstein. Maybe you can see on the right side of Heiligenstein there are no hills, so this is the open side east, where we can pull the warm air from there. And this is the most important site here for Riesling. I am standing in that little cellars, have built in that way since centuries.
That's so cool.
And we built the cellar in that, so a little different to the others. So that's our tasting room.
I love it. Okay, sorry, that took me a minute. Now I'm in a better place. And what all grapes? You said Riesling on Heiligenstein, but what are we looking at right there?
This is Grüner. This is Grüner Veltliner. That's a vineyard we planted on the cellar. So below there is our cellar. And this is Grüner Veltliner on a cordon system. So you can see it.
Okay.
We prune Grüner Veltliner mainly on cordon. And what's special for our vineyards, we work with high intensity planting. So we go up to 6,000-7,000 wines per hectare, which is unusual for the region. And we have very low stems, so we are very...
You said 6,000 per hectare?
Yeah, 5,000 to 6,000 per hectare. Some vineyards are on 7,000.
Wow, okay. And can you explain what the benefit of that is for people?
The idea is to higher the intensity so we can lower the yielding per wine. And with the low stems, we can use the pressure from the soil, from the water. I think better as on higher stems. It's as I said first, it's a very dry region. In a normal year, we only see 450 liters, and in the last 7 months, we have seen only 150 liters rain. And so it's very important that you lower your yieldings per wine to get a good quality.
I see. Now, how many grapes do you grow? You said Riesling and Gruner. Do you grow other things?
Yeah, so Kamptal has an appellation system since 2008. And that says Grüner Veltliner and Riesling are at the moment the only two varieties which are allowed to carry the appellation name, Kamptal DSC. And we do that in 3 different quality levels, so a region wine, and a village level, and then the single vineyard wines.
Mm-hmm.
But beside that, Kamptal is a region of diversity and diversity in soils, diversity in microclimates, and that means, of course, also diversity on varieties. And you also find in Kamptal the whole bunch of Pinot grapes, so from Pinot Blanc over Pinot Gris, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Zweigelt is the main variety by the reds, which get better and better the last 20 years. That's a fact of climate warming. In the past, it was really, yeah, we see harvests now a month earlier as 20 years ago or 30 years ago. And that means that some varieties like Grüner Veltliner get more and more power today, and other varieties get riper and riper, like Pinot Noir and Zweigelt, for example.
And that's, you think, just recently from climate change?
You know, it's always it's a complex system. You can't say it's only climate change.
Okay.
It's also vineyard management and farming at all. But the main part for sure is the climate change.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, when I was young, and that's a few years ago, the harvest, for example, was always something of cold weather. It was not a really nice work because people were happy when they came home at 5 o'clock evening and find a heated room with warm dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And today we have to start at 5 o'clock in the morning, finish at 2 o'clock afternoon, and have an ice cream afterwards. So big changes. You can see that very dramatically here in Kamptal.
Wow. When you make biodynamic wine, does it stop once you harvest, or is there some vinification things that you do differently?
It's a completely different system at all. So first of all, as I told you, the thing with the farm individuality, then the whole vineyard management changed in a way. We have to have much more manpower today because we have to be very quick. So the canopy I have shown you maybe a second time. It's cleaned. It's cleaned already. We did that the last 2.5 weeks, and we need another week. So we do, in a time of 3 weeks, we do all our 70 hectares, which is a very important thing because that's the main thing to keep your wines healthy over the year. So we need manpower much more as when we farmed conventional. And working with compost is a complex thing. You can bring in a lot of ideas. And the cellar changed too. We work on a very natural way today. We let everything run. Also malolactic fermentation to have a stable wine without doing anything, and then do a very low sulfuring at the end. So big changes.
Wow. Can you talk to me about aging Gruner? Because I think Gruner has become popular enough. It gets drunk when it gets here. If I ever see any old Gruner on consignment, I just buy it, and I don't think I've ever been disappointed. Can you talk a little bit about aging?
Yeah, so Grüner Veltliner, or maybe it's cool climate regions which bring wines, white wines which can age very, very well. And I moved inside because I think I need electricity.
That's completely fine. And you can turn the camera around whenever is convenient for you. But I love seeing inside.
And so Grüner Veltliner is a variety which can age, but it depends very much, of course, on the wine quality itself. So when it's
on the wine quality,
when it's something which comes from a vineyard which grows nicely, and the wine is not overpowered at the end, has a good pH level and good acidity, Grüner Veltliner can age for 20, 30 years easily.
Okay.
And the best Grüner Veltliners reach the best age I would say somewhere between 5 and 15 years.
Yeah.
But it depends, of course, very much on the quality at the beginning, because a lot of Brunner Veltliners made today in a very, let's say, modern way. But you can, yeah, have them young, but then they don't age so well.
Thank you for that. So what are we looking at? Is this a tasting, there's a tasting room that you can go outside?
That's, yeah, that's outside.
It's so beautiful.
And yeah, and that's the inside.
Excuse me. Super cool. So can you talk us through the range of wines that you make? Because I think you make quite a range, right?
Sorry, say it again.
The range of wines that you make?
The range of wines. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a bigger line. I'm very curious in doing different
Wow.
styles. So of course our main thing is Kamptal. Kamptal is dry. Kamptal is Grüner. Kamptal is Riesling in a style which people know in a way. So focused on fruit freshness, saltiness in our case. But then we started in 2003 also fermenting whites, and Brunner Veltliner was the first one on skins.
Oh, wow.
And to a skin fermented Brunner Veltliner, which the first one was bottled in 06. So today famous orange wines with very low sulfur use. That's a part today, a small one, but it's a part today of our winemaking. And then we started with sect in 2013, and this gets bigger and bigger for us.
Oh, great. Jody just said that we were looking at Bruno's dog bed behind over there.
Ah, yeah, that's the dog's bed, yeah. That's
Somebody else said, is he off screen eating a shoe?
Wait a second. Yeah, that's his place, but he's not here.
I love it. Awesome. So can you explain sect to people who might not know it?
Pardon me?
Can you explain the sect to people who might not know it?
Yeah, so Langenlois, the town, is today one of the hotspots of Austria's quality sect culture, and we started already in 91 first. And in 11, 12, we decided to start again because the region offers such a good quality for sect as I see it. My sect should be not too heavy, fresh, good acidity, and very, very dry. And we get, and also because of our farming, so the biodynamic farming, in biodynamic farming you get a little bit better physiological ripeness, earlier ripeness, and so you can harvest earlier, and that's why we can harvest grapes on 10.5, 11 maximum alcohol, which I think you need for a very good sparkling, so you don't get too high in alcohol. And the region is offering that, and we do that, with international known grapes, all the Burgundies, so Pinot Blanc, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir. But then very much, and that's our main variety, this is Zweigelt. And Zweigelt is a crossing of a relative of Pinot Noir and Blaufränkisch, and that offers a very nice quality for sect. And we practice that in a good handwork. So we do everything hand harvesting, but this is for all our wines, not only for sect. We do that also in small baskets, so soft transport, whole bunch pressing, use only the cubes, so 50 liters for our sects. And then they stay up to 2 years for the reserves on the lees in the bottle. And we do also a große Reserve, a Grand Reserve, which is 5 years on the lees.
So where are your top markets for sect? Who's drinking this sect?
A lot goes to your country, to the States.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Jody, for that.
Thanks, Jody. Exactly.
and Scandinavia at all is one of our very important markets. People there love these light, crispy, fresh, acid-driven wines, and sect belongs to that. But we as an estate, we export in over 50 countries, and
oh, wow.
at least half of them have our sect too.
And in Austria, are people drinking sect to celebrate as an aperitif with dinner? How are Austrians embracing sect?
Changing at the moment. So it's a process started a few years ago. Sect was always a celebration drink. So, you know, birthday, Christmas, celebrations. But today it gets more and more from aperitif up to a wine also for food pairing. And so sect gets more and more important also in the restaurants. Austrian sect get his place now because of the quality, I would say.
Yeah.
Also did a lot of really good work to give sect a good platform. So we created a 3-tier system, classic, reserve, große Reserve, with really written down production guidelines. And I think that will drive the quality in the next years even more. And sect has something which a lot of winemakers are searching for at the moment. This is low intervention and low sulfur use. And with sect, it's very easy because you have most of the time yeast in the bottle, and you have then always CO2 pressure in the bottle. And that's why you can lower your sulfur use really to a very low level. And you have a wine with low alcohol and a lot of freshness and showing complexity when it gets old. So it's a very interesting product.
Yeah. We're getting close to the end because I try to keep it under a half an hour. So can your fans see your face for the last few minutes?
Okay. Sitting on the Loimer.
There we go. I know a lot of people miss you and are not able to come over, so it's nice to see the vineyards, but it's really nice to see your face too.
Thank you for the possibility to chat.
Yeah, my pleasure. Do you can you talk to us about acacia, the use of acacia?
Acacia wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a little, but really very little. So the idea was a few years ago using acacia as the wood from that region, but we also have oak here, but the wood from the region for the white wine casks. But acacia was used in the past very often, but acacia is very different to oak and shows quite a big intense of flavors to the wine. And so I would say we are keeping it on a low level, the acacia.
I see. So I saw on your website that your sister is making some pestos and some jams, and you're selling that on the website. Can you talk about things you've done since the corona has impacted us all so severely?
You know, when you're locked down like in that way, you start creating ideas how to attract people, of course, and also how to sell at the end. And my sister is producing something, we are producing something, and then we created at the same time, but this started before, a new wine which is called glücklich, so lucky or happy.
Okay.
And so we said, let's take that wine and let's take her product put them together in a box and try to sell them together. And yeah, people loved it in a way. And these are products also from the region, so it fits very well to our.
Yeah, that's great. What is happening with like France is starting to open up. What's happening in Austria now?
We are quite far, so we are happy. So borders start opening. School started yesterday. The restaurant started a week ago. So it's getting better. But there's still a few things which which are not so good. We have to carry a mask when we enter a shop or a restaurant, and for me, we are, thanks God, we are on a very low level at the moment. There are only 950 people from out of 8 million infected at the moment.
Wow.
So more or less no one. And that's why people start asking themselves about the restrictions. Are they really necessary?
Yeah.
Because all these restrictions, of course, are not helping to create a nice atmosphere to celebrate, to have food, to have wine, and have fun. So everything is still slow, but it gets better.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for your time. Seeing your vineyard, seeing your face to a lot of people was really nice. It's good to get out and see some sunshine. And I do think the vines are optimistic. Seeing that the vines don't stop, you're out there making good wine for the next vintage is very optimistic for me.
That's why the last 8 weeks were so indifferent. On one hand, this lockdown. On the other hand, we had our vineyards and nature. So, yeah, some nice hours and some sad hours. This was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure to chat with you, and I hope to see you either here or over there soon.
Hopefully in person, yeah. Hopefully in real.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fred. Have a nice day now. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.